Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FA Live. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Caitlin Brower. I am the Director of PR, Social Media, and Events here at First Advantage, and I'm also your host for FA Live. We got a great episode today. So I'll go ahead and introduce my guests, and I'll introduce our topic today. So today with us, we have Andrew Williams, Director of Client Solutions for Transportation, and Bryson Phillips, Enterprise Sales Executive for Transportation. And as you can see at the bottom of our screen, our topic today is driving operational efficiencies. We're going to talk about takeaways from the ATA Safety, Security, and HR conference. So, Andrew, Bryson, thank you so much for being on FA Live with me today. I would love for you both to introduce yourself to our audience. So, Andrew, I will start with you.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Caitlin. We always love to do these kind of events and get to talk to folks. But as Caitlin said, I'm Andrew Williams. And I've been doing this now for just about 13 years. It'll be 13 years in July, all with the broader First Advantage companies through different iterations. My main focus here is working with our transportation clients, working with our clients that move things, that build things. And what I really enjoy about that and the specific clients that we work with is just an opportunity to really help them keep not only their employees safe, but the public at large, because we all depend on the things that they move and the things that they build.
The things they move and the things they build. I love that. So thank you, Andrew, for being here today. Bryson, welcome to FA Live, and thank you for being with us. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, Caitlin, thanks for having me. Bryson Phillips, Enterprise Sales Executive here at First Advantage. I've been in the overall screening industry since June of 2004, so 20 plus years in the screening industry. Right around 2012 is when I moved to the sales side, specifically focused on transportation. And I've been 100% focused on transportation since 2012. So 6 years with First Advantage here. Love working with First Advantage, love working with the transportation vertical, and glad to be here today.
So we've got years of experience here on the call with us today. So you are all in for a treat because we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about. I do want to just quickly remind everyone, if you're watching live on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, if you have any questions for Andrew or Bryson throughout the episode, please go into the comment section across all three of these platforms and put in your comments, your questions, and I will get them over to these two as I see fit throughout the episode. So moving into today's episode, Andrew and Bryson will be sharing their recent experiences, discussions, and issues that trucking fleets are facing with their regulated and non-regulated drivers from last week's American Trucking Association Safety, Security, and HR conference. They're also going to be sharing practical solutions that can help solve for these challenges that we're going to learn a little bit more about. So really a general kind of post-event conference discussion for us. Let's dive right in. Andrew and Bryson, you recently came back. You were in Louisville, so I'm sure that was a lot of fun. I would love to get your general view of your time at the conference and share what you learned from that event. So, Andrew, I'm going to kick it off to you first, and then Bryson follow up.
Yeah, no, awesome. And it was an amazing show. And kind of when you go to these things, one of the most impactful things is being able to listen to what's important to our customers. I always say, we have a really good idea, but it's always another level for them to tell us what they need, what they want to do is really the most important thing. And it's our job to help get there. But the one thing that I would say really stood out, aside from every session being about avoiding nuclear verdicts, which completely understand, was just the need to make sure that the processes that these companies implement are meaningful and that they have tangible benefits. And what I really mean by that is, there's so many things that need to be done. There's so many different processes. Just think about what we do day in and day out, how many emails go back and forth. But because there's so much to be done, you can really run the risk of kind of overcomplicating it to the point where what you're doing, as well-intentioned as it is really not going to deliver the results. And just, give a really poor experience to those drivers and to the safety teams that manage them. I always look at it as your email. If you're getting 40 emails a day from HR asking you to update this profile and asking you to do this and to do the training. And I hope HR is not listening, but it's easier to tune that out. It just becomes background noise. But where if you're given, one task, one specific thing to do, you're far more likely to do it and give it that the attention that it deserves. So that's just something that really hit home with me, because we want everything to be perfect, but we also need to focus on what's realistically going to work. And if you ignore kind of the mindset of your employees, of your drivers, your program is really going to fail.
Yeah, agree. And I felt the same way. And Andrew and I attended a lot of the same sessions. We worked the booth together. We had a lot of people come over and chat with us at the booth, and just overall, same idea, simplifying the processes, trying to make things as easy as possible. I thought it was interesting. This conference had less talk. I felt like I was going to conferences a few years ago, and all the talk was about, driverless trucks, self-driving trucks. And they were focused more on just making things easier and simplifying processes with the drivers, even with AI. So rather than talking about driverless trucks, they spent a lot of time focusing on AI and what a perfect world would be for drivers in these trucking companies with AI, ideally moving toward a model where all of their different systems would talk to each other, meaning hey, this driver has this route with these 6 stops. AI tells them, here's the best way to optimize the route. Here's how much fuel you have in your tank. Here's where you're going to stop to get fuel, calculating in the weather, calculating in construction zones, calculating in the driver's current hours and where they're going to be and where their hours are going to end. Just ideally moving toward a positive understanding of AI and how that could help the trucking industry.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it really puts less of a focus on eliminating the driver, but making the driver smarter and making your organization smarter and kind of using that technology in different ways. And I will say, I think a lot of us are looking at AI in that focus as well. Kind of how can it just make us do things better, faster, smarter? So I think that's definitely a good call out there. And, Andrew, I loved your call out too of listening to our customers. It was, something we really propped up on the first episode of FA Live with our CEO, Scott Staples. We can't do anything without the voice of the customer. That's how we do everything every day, by listening to them, what comes out of their mouth. So I loved that call to that there. But you did talk a lot about processes, Andrew, and I'm getting the sense that there is a lot of disjointment there. And it's happening across different teams when it comes to hiring and onboarding drivers. So what can companies do to better improve this overall experience for both themselves and their drivers? And Bryson, obviously feel free to chime in too.
Yeah. So, I'll hit the obvious one of use technology in a couple minutes, but to get to the point where you can do that, something that you're really going to need to do is maybe take a couple steps back. Look at who owns the different elements of the process, because what we do has so many different teams that are involved. So you have the HR, the talent acquisition, the compliance folks that you generally think of when it comes to a background check or maybe drug testing. You have your safety teams that are all about implementing the policies, implementing, different protocols to make sure that their drivers are set up to be as safe as possible and addressing issues as they come up. You have the drivers themselves, again, the backbone of what's happening. Like, the business doesn't work without the drivers. Then you have fleet and you have maintenance team. So you have all of these different people, and you need to understand how your processes affect all of them. If you're excluding one, you're missing not only a stakeholder that might feel strongly about something you're implementing, but you're missing a lot of knowledge and how they do the job, and which is something else that came up in a session where some of the processes that a few of the speakers went into really came from the folks on the ground, the folks that are driving the vehicles and talking about things that help them make it safe. So I like to say that, because until you get the lay of the land, there's just no way that any solution is going to work, and it's going to work to the level you want. Once you have that knowledge, it's about utilizing technology. It's about utilizing the integrations and getting systems to talk to each other, so that you're not, oh, great, we have a drug test result. Now it has to get into the driver qualification file. And now that MVR needs this and needs to move over to this place or needs to be reviewed. Utilizing that technology to take a lot of that manual work out of the process, getting things to happen automatically, touchless as much as it can, it's going to free your team up to do higher level functions. Like, you don't need somebody copying and pasting things. You need your safety manager talking to the fleet, understanding the metrics, making decisions, doing what's really in their wheelhouse, and not a lot of that admin work.
Yeah, and to add to that, Andrew, there was one group that I know, I'm sure you remember, came up to our booth specifically. And a lot of times, you hear of companies where HR and safety, they tend to butt heads. Whereas this company came up and said, hey, our company's been around 90 plus years. One person was from HR, the other lady was from safety. And they said, we're looking to simplify our process and be on the same page. We're looking for one single provider that can do everything from the pre-employment side to the onboarding, all the post-employment drug and alcohol screening, the post-accidents, the driver qualification files. We want someone that either acts as an ATS or can integrate with some of the top ATSs out there. So we're seeing more and more of less of butting heads and just saying, hey, let's work together and simplify the process. Let us all have the same visibility and be aligned on where our drivers are at, where the risk is.
Yeah, and enter First Advantage to help help out there. But I think that is great to kind of see it across industries where the functions are the same and they want to take that step back and again stop arguing, butting heads, but really finding a solution that can help everyone as a whole. And I think a lot of the stuff that both of you have shared thus far today is, again, enter First Advantage. This is how we can get to that kind of happy medium across the board for everybody. Yeah, go.
I was going to say, and it just makes the job so much more enjoyable. I'd love to sit here and say there's never been conflict in any of our jobs with any of our other teams. It's just so frustrating when these teams are in conflict and, whether you're going to this stakeholder or that stakeholder, or they're coming to us, it makes the job less enjoyable. Some of the best days I've ever had working are we accomplished something really difficult, but you got that great bounce back from another stakeholder. Maybe they said, well, we can't do it this way, but how about looking at this? That just makes working so much more enjoyable. And if you actually enjoy getting up every day and coming in, your results just really shine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, to our audience watching, if you do converse with First Advantage, on a frequent basis, bring up those conversations, bring up those questions. Because Andrew, like you had said, do you just look at it in a different way? How can we position ourselves to help you? But it always starts with kind of raising that question, raising that conversation, and we can plug in and see where, again, our help is 100% needed, and we can kind of customize it and things like that. So really good takeaways, thus far from you both. But, Bryson, I want to go back to what you had mentioned. You guys, we were there, as a sponsor for First Advantage, but you both were able to actually attend some sessions as well, which is great, furthering the knowledge base there. So can you just share any of the topics or any of them that specifically stood out to you?
Yeah, so my favorite session was a session centered around driver qualification files and passing DOT audits. Very interesting. They actually had an East Kentucky police officer there that regularly performs DOT audits. He was on the panel speaking, and his whole thing is to educate, not enforce. He talked a lot about performing DOT audits. He does this weekly. And he says, when he requests that driver qualification file, he expects to see what is required by DOT, by the FMCSA, in that driver qualification file. So a lot of companies out there, there's those 8 documents that's required to be in your file. A lot of companies like to add other things above and beyond that, maybe the drug test, maybe the company policy. And I think it's important to partner with someone that will allow you to keep those additional files above and beyond that. But what he was saying is when I do a DOT audit, I expect to see these files and I expect to see them updated and in compliance. And so he's like, make sure you're keeping your documents up to date. There are several renewable documents in a file. The driver's license is renewable. The med card's renewable. You've got to run that annual MVR, right? So he also talked about, someone asked the question, hey, if I have a driver who's been working with me since 2001. And when we hired them, the DQ files were paper. Hopefully it's 2025. Since then, you've moved on and partnered with someone that can do the DQ files digitally for you. But what do we do? What if we miss something? And in the first 30 days of 2001, when we hired them, is that an infraction? What's going to happen there? And he gave some good advice that I thought. He said, if you miss something within the first 30 days or so of hiring this driver, if anything is missing in the file, something was missed a long time ago, include an errata sheet in the file. He said that goes a long ways. So basically, an errata sheet is something that says, hey, this was missed from the DQ file when we initially hired the driver. Here is what we've done to resolve that. Here is what we've done to make it right. He said that's going to go a long way for an auditor to see that you've addressed this, you've taken care of it, rather than letting the auditor catch it. So his overall goal was basically saying, never wait until you receive that audit letter to get into compliance. That never goes well for anyone, any company. You want to maintain compliance now so that you're always prepared for an audit tomorrow.
No, that's great. Andrew, any takeaways from the sessions too?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, what Bryson said, it was kind of the most, I think, paradigm changing, not to over fancy it, because our customers, us, we're like, the auditors are the bad guy. Like, you got to do whatever you can around them. But just the refreshing way that he described it, just having the honesty and doing the best that you possibly can, really struck home to me, because it's one of those moments where you see everybody has the same goal. Nobody wants for an accident. Nobody wants for a bad verdict to happen. Nobody wants somebody not to go home at the end of their route. And understanding that and just having that mindset of going into the processes, it's just so huge, because it's no longer that adversarial way. It's how do we make this process better? How do we make it better for our employees, our customers, the family of 5 with their dog set out the window next to us. Like, it's all about that kind of mentality, and that's just a huge part of it.
Can relate to the dog with his head out the window. So in agreement with you on that one. But both really good takeaways. And it seemed like that session was very eye-opening and very informative. But Bryson, is there any other key takeaways to share with the audience today?
One of the things that I thought was interesting is we were boothing next to Truckers Against Trafficking, TAT. So this is a company that completely partners with trucking companies and helping their drivers become aware of how to spot human trafficking. A lot of people don't think about it, but truck drivers can play a major role in reporting human trafficking. So whether they are the long haul over the road truck drivers, or if they're the ones that are doing the final mile routes, delivering to businesses or in homes and in neighborhoods. So as traffickers keep their victims on the move, think about it. They're traveling all across the same exact highways. They're visiting the same truck stops, the same gas stations as truck drivers are, those long haul drivers. Those long haul drivers are being trained to be able to spot human trafficking, spot signs of it, as well as the final mile drivers. They're kind of the eyes and ears when they're delivering across the neighborhoods as well. So they actually have a Tulsa Coalition Build Conference coming up. I'm located in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I'm going to be attending that conference on June 5th or June 10th. But it's a human trafficking prevention and awareness training conference. So I'm going to be attending as well. I think it's interesting. 3 of First Advantage's overall largest clients are in the transportation industry. All 3 of them partner with this organization, a great organization to have out there training our drivers to be aware of this and keep our eyes and ears out on the road.
That's great. And you love those organic conversations that happen at these conferences, being booth neighbors to this really incredible organization, as you've just outlined. And now here's an opportunity for you, Bryson, to go to this coalition that they're having. So really great. I hope you have a great time. And I look forward to, understanding a little bit more of what you get out of that, and sharing it back. Hey, maybe we'll do another FA Live episode based around that. But yes, you guys have shared just some really, really awesome takeaways from this event. today. So I want to do just a quick reminder to the audience. If you have any final questions for the team, please submit them now. While we wait for anything else to come through, I just want to gather some final thoughts from the two of you today. So Andrew, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I'd say my final thought is, in addition to these, to the FA Lives that we're doing, our transportation team is also putting out a lot of blogs about what's going on in the transportation space, and just really trying to put a lot of information into the hands of our customers and the industry as a whole. So I know there's a link to it with this live. Please check it out. But also, like I said, like I started, I'll finish. We want to hear from you. Are there things that you are really curious about? Are there problems that you're having that you want Bryce and myself, the rest of our team, to address and get that information out there? Like we would love for that to happen. So please read it, check it out. We have a new one coming out about some of the changes with the FMCSA physicals. But let us know what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. And, just to reiterate, a new blog series out. We've got the one up. One is coming from Andrew and his team. A lot of good insights there. So be on the lookout for that link shared on social media, our website, and any other outlet where you get marketing material from First Advantage. I do see that we have a comment on LinkedIn. The good news is it's very detailed and it's very long. Unfortunately, I believe there's a question at the end, but it's being cut off in my system right here. So I just want to say his name is Dusty Forbes. We will follow up with you after the show. I'll make sure one of these guys gets in touch with you to address the comment and the question. But again, I'm sorry, it's getting cut off in my system right here. But Bryson, final thoughts from you today.
Just in general, I love the transportation industry. Like I said, I've been focusing on transportation for about 13 years now. It's a great industry. Working at a background screening and a drug screening company, we support many different verticals out there. Transportation industry is its own animal. Above and beyond the FCRA requirements, you've got those DOT regulations that you have to follow as well. Just making sure that you're partnering with a company that truly understands the transportation industry, its unique compliance requirements, and someone that partners with some of those other top brands there and really understands how to support them.
That's great. Well, again, really awesome stuff shared today. We look forward to tapping into even more insights within the transportation industry. As I mentioned earlier, you can find a lot of these assets across our corporate social media platforms. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube. Please go ahead and see that. You can also go to our website, fadv.com/transportation to get more information as well. But again, thank you to everyone who has tuned in live and to those who are watching on demand. And a special thank you to Andrew and Bryson. Thank you guys for being on FA Live with me today.
It was great. Thank you. And thank you everybody for watching.
Absolutely. So thank you again to everyone, and I will catch you on the next episode of FA Live.